So welcome to another episode of Beyond the Locker Room. I'm your host, Brian Tull. This week I'm going to speak a little bit about the NCAA Tournament as it kicks off this coming week on Thursday and Friday with the opening rounds. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Miami Heat streak as it continues now at 22 games. And right now I'm just finishing up watching this Nadal Del Potro match, which is pretty high quality tennis. And Nadal looks like he's on his way back. I mean, he's playing some unbelievable tennis. He took out Federer with pretty much with ease earlier this week, and he looks like he's about to knock out Del Potro right now. We'll start with the NCAA tournament. That's kind of like, this time of year it's March, and that's where everyone gets into March Madness and all the things surrounding March Madness. As usual, there's always a lot of interesting stories that come out of the tournament selection. I think once again this year shows that the mid-majors are here to stay. I think I remember seeing the stat on CBS's coverage where there was 11 bids. I believe 11 out of mid-major bids that were picked up this year, the same as last year. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what I saw. I guess the big story is the Gonzaga being number one overall and getting the number one seed out west. I think I'm not sold on Gonzaga. There's been plenty of years where Gonzaga's been kind of a top seed, and then have found ways to kind of throw it away or lose when you least expect it, or once they play the big boy, they kind of faded away. This year we'll see. Their schedule was a typical Gonzaga schedule. It's questionable if they actually deserve the number one seed overall, but they only lost 2 games, so it's hard to actually knock them for not losing only 2 games, but you do have to question a little bit of the competition they're playing, and we'll find out. I mean, I think if they get past the first round, if Pittsburgh gets through their round, I mean, Pittsburgh's a pretty physical, rough team, from the Big East, and we'll see how they handle that as a second round matchup. I'm not trying to give too many hints on my bracket, but I will put up my bracket later this week just to give you an idea of what I'm thinking about in some of the pools that are going on. And I think Gonzaga right now is it's put up or shut up time for them. I mean, they gotta get it done. So I think you gotta look at them and see are they a true power or not? We're gonna find out this year. The other thing I think jumped out at me was that Duke was, I believe, a number 1 seed and Miami a number 2 seed. And you have to ask yourself what really was the difference between the two. If anything, you can make the argument Miami should have been the number 1 seed and Duke the number 2 seed. Miami ended up, they split this year in the series, and Miami ended up winning the championship, the ACC championship, and yet somehow Duke gets the benefit of the doubt to be the number 1 seed. Shocking, Duke actually gets the benefit of the doubt from the tournament selectors. So be it. We'll see. I also think we'll see. I think Miami might end up going further than Duke, but we'll see how if they were right when it's all said and done. The Big Ten had a pretty good year, and it showed, it reflected in the tournament. So all the big boys are there. What I noticed from the Big Ten was quite interesting that only 2-3 weeks ago, Michigan arguably could have been number 1 seed, and they dropped down to a 4 seed. So Michigan's one of those teams you gotta watch. I think they're a team that people now pretty much put to rest and maybe kind of turned them off or thought that maybe they're not really ready for prime time. I think Michigan might come back and bounce back and have a pretty good tournament. So keep an eye out on that. So moving to the NBA, the Heat played my beloved Toronto Raptors. So last week I had a pretty heated Toronto Raptors segment there that got some interesting feedback on Facebook. So you guys keep on putting out the comments and thoughts about that. Miami, is just they're a machine. I mean, literally they flipped the switch on in the fourth quarter and said, okay, that's enough of playtime, and they just took over the game. It was you could tell the difference between them now compared to say just before the All-Star break, where they're kind of still fighting the game a little bit. Now it just seems to come at ease with them. And I really think this is Miami's championship to lose. Really, I don't see anyone in the East challenging them, and it's looking less and less likely. There's a really good opponent from the West, but you never know. That's why they play the game. So we'll see how that plays out. He's playing some of his best basketball of his career. You got to give him his due. He's taking a lot of shots, looking old or lethargic. The injuries catching up to him, but he's gotten stronger and stronger as the season's progressed, and he's looking like he's playing his best ball as we head into the playoffs. Just on another note for the NBA, Kobe Bryant earlier this week had a bit of a controversial play with Dahntay Jones of the Atlanta Hawks. The two of them have a little history, going back to the Denver Nuggets Lakers series a few years back in the first round. But this was another interesting moment between the two of them where Kobe was looking to try to hit a game tying shot, or maybe even I think it's a game tying shot. And Dahntay Jones says he was closing out on the shooter. And if you watch the replay, Kobe's fading out of bounds. I like to mention to you. And then Dahntay Jones has a way of kind of ending up underneath Kobe as he lands, and Kobe turns his ankle. And afterwards, Kobe's in typical Kobe form. He said he Jalen Rosed him, which was referencing an injury that happened very similar in I believe the 2000 finals against Indiana, where Rose, who admits that that's what he did, which is a dirty play. It's just something you just don't do. Undercut a guy when he's up in the air. You gotta give him his space to land. And Dahntay Jones, who's had some, as I said before, some history at Kobe, with a bit of a trip in this case in the playoffs a few years ago, and has had some other little shady moments in the NBA with other players as well. Is not we wouldn't put it past him in this case. Let's put it that way for pulling this type of move. So Kobe said he had about a year to wait to get his revenge, and only Kobe would say a line like that, as if he's like Darth Vader to get his revenge. I mean, sometimes I'm not sure if Kobe is actually self-aware or not, but whatever it is, it makes for great TV, it makes for great interviews, because you never really know what may come out of his mouth. I mean, I see Kobe as two different people. There's Kobe pre-Colorado and the whole sexual assault incident, and post-Colorado. And Kobe before Colorado was always trying to be like Mike. He wanted to be Michael Jordan part 2. And, he wanted to say and do everything as Michael Jordan, even though behind the scenes, there's always this reputation that Kobe was very, very brisk and very aloof, and, not the friendliest or warmest individual, but, he wanted to portray himself as as the congenial, athlete that could sell you everything from Gatorade to shoes. So that's what it was beforehand. But I think once everything broke out with Colorado, and you took so much heat from the media, from fans, it ended up really being reviled as probably arguably, I would say the most hated person at one point, probably in sports. I think he just say, hey, I'm going to be me, and I'm going to revel in being the bad guy, the guy with the black hat. And it's worked out for him, not just on the court, but I think also off the court. I think he being, he's always turned into a guy like an anti-hero in a sense, which I don't think, the league's probably had that type of individual probably since Allen Iverson, who's pretty much kind of the rebel, the anti-hero. And I think now Kobe just revels in these moments where he makes quotes like, I can't wait to get my revenge, and next year. As I said before, it sounds like something like Darth Vader would say or something like that. So I mean, I got a good chuckle out of it. I can't wait till next year when those two meet up, whatever team Dahntay Jones happens to be on then, because I mean, he's on 10 teams I think so far. I think he's gonna pass the Chucky Brown record any second, pretty much. I mean, he's approaching Chucky Brown territory, so who knows what team, or even if he's going to be in the league next year. So for Kobe's sake, I hope someone signs up Dahntay Jones next year, even if it's for a 10-day contract for that game when the Lakers meet whichever team that Dahntay Jones may be playing for. Anyway, those are my thoughts here. So I'm going to post my picks later this week on our Facebook page, also on the Beyond the Locker Room Facebook page. And, in the coming weeks, we're going to have some fun. We're going to have an NBA playoff preview with my boy Eve in a few weeks, as well as kind of some polls coming out on some NBA polls. We're going to have an NBA poll on the best playoff performance of all time. Love to get your thoughts on who's going to win this tournament. So I'm going to put down probably, I'm looking at me 16 to 32. We'll see how many I can get out of it, but see who ends up being the most clutch performer of all time during NBA playoffs, and we'll rank them, 1 to 16 or 1 to 32, depending how many I get out. And I'd love to see your thoughts on it by responding on the polls and see where we end up at. So we have some fun this March and April with this spring period. The Masters coming up, so there's a lot of good stuff happening in the sports world. It's a fun time of year if you're a sports fan. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on the Facebook page or comments down below, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Later.